Alrighty then, so here we go again with another boss fight. Today is the Alpha Rockwell, the Origin tribe, who's, I believe, got another boss fight up on this channel. Gonna be the ones doing the job. Members involved are David, from what I understand, the tribe leader, Greed, Purple, Shadowrunner, Arcane, and a pack of Megas. Basically what these guys got going on is they're using shotguns, around 580 to 650% damage, 200 shots each. As well, the Megas were bred. They have between 41, 42 damage and 220 plus armor. There might be a misprint on that here. I got the information from the tribe leader. Not sure what he means by 41 to 42 damage, but I expect he will help us out with that in the comments. These are the third generations of Megas, and this can be a pretty difficult boss, as I usually do a little interview with the tribe leader, a couple of the tribe members after the fight, and I talked to David about it. He said one of the things that stuck out for him was they did have a plan. They stuck to the plan pretty much to the letter, and in fact it felt a little easier than the Gamma, which they had done before, just because they were a little bit more organized. And if you do go back and watch their other boss fight video, I found when watching this that it was significantly smoother, even though it's a very difficult boss. Its difficulty does make it take a lot more time to kill, and part of the reason is they're just being careful. You know, it's not the end of the world if they gotta spend a few more extra minutes to get the job done, but they don't take heavy losses and the job does eventually get done. So it does take a little longer, but of course, you know, they all walk away from it alive, and you can see the organization quite a bit here already, where they're staying fairly far back with their Megas, standing on top of them and shooting. And you'd almost say the Megas are like a security blanket here. It gives them a lot of movement. They can get on them so that they don't personally take damage at certain points, and then take different positions to stand and use the shotguns. You're not jumping the Mega into the water to go chew on this boss. The ranged weapon obviously works out great for them here. I know there are other ways to do it, but watching this, I found this way is really nothing wrong with it. It works out quite well. They are wearing, of course, armor, 900 plus on the flak. Those either pretty solid pieces of armor. Not sure what the durability was there, but they're thick flak armors. Usual movement speed build. You'll notice that one guy, I believe it's Shadow, is moving around quite a bit. In and out of the line of sight of the tentacle, and basically two people are covering and two are shooting. Since they're not using Drakes, dismounting is obviously very risky, so they do stay right on top of those Megalos and stick close. I'm trying to play with the Gamma a little bit just to get you guys a slightly better view here. As we're going to see, this is a successful boss. They get 15 plus levels each from it, depending on where they were at before doing the boss. And it just, you know, while I was watching it, and you'll see me move around, you do see quite a bit of strategy being used. Their movements seem pretty orchestrated, and you also notice at certain times, and I think it's Shadow that's doing it because he has that speed, will be literally luring packs of dinos away from the Megalos, or towards, depending on the situation, so that they can either keep shooting or eat these packs of dinos, which I think are the Endless, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check on that in the comments section. I generally ask the guys that make the video to add comments to help clarify the many mistakes I make. Like I've said, it's a funny thing with Ark. I've got well over 4,000 hours in, but I did a lot of building. I really loved caves, and I just haven't done a lot of bosses. I've never done a single boss on Aberration. I've only ever done one cave on Aberration. And it's funny how I get the same story from a lot of players. Lots of players with a lot of hours in, either they didn't make it to end game for various reasons, or in some cases they just do their own thing. I was kind of played this game like a sandbox for most of my Ark career, and end up doing whatever I'm doing, and bosses were just something I never ended up doing. That being said, I have really enjoyed watching the boss fights, because I get a really good a bird's eye view, dare I say it, of the boss fights. I get a lot of tips from the players. I can watch their mistakes and watch the things they do right. And if I ever do get into boss fights, you know, I'll be a little more prepared than most. And of course, You can see it's a bit of a distraction there. Every time they need to clean up the mess on the ground, these little terror dinos running around trying to wreck shit up. You do end up shooting and firing less at the boss. And as we progress through here, it feels like they kind of get one man on the job, if I'm not mistaken. It's been almost a week since I filmed this, so there's probably some things that have, I saw when I was watching it and then later realized that were different. So as we work through, and interesting looking boss, and I'm not really sure what he's doing when he rests like that. It's like he's building up tentacle power or something. But I'm guessing after X amount of damage taken, he goes into this odd position where he's talking to the water spirits here to try and get himself amped up again for the fight. And when he comes out amped up. I don't think this is a guy that's happy. Probably 2 or 3 times divorced. Lost a couple houses maybe in the past, and who knows? Maybe his wife cheated on him. Maybe his husband cheated on him. Maybe this is a girl. I can't tell. I'm guessing by the face it's a dude. And I'm definitely guessing that he's just not happy about the situation. Maybe just not too pleased that these people are coming up in his house here and trying to cause a disturbance. But either way, he is mad. And the tentacles are, I would say, the main damaging weapon as they slap out like that. Obviously the fireballs aren't ideal either, but it seems you can shoot them just like that with a shotgun round. So, as they get pushed by the fireballs, they just waste a round to clear it up. With 200 rounds each, times a few players, not something that's deadly concerning. And they do move positions quite often. Definitely helps dodging the tentacles, of course. Maybe just also reduces the odds of having to waste too many rounds shooting at those fireballs. And here we can see the pack. This is, and I get into this a little bit after, but we notice, and I think it's Shadow, based on what David told me, who seems to have the job, of course, of firing shotgun bullets, but he's got enough speed to deal with these guys. So he's kind of trying to keep them distracted, just running circles with them. Not too worried necessarily about killing them, just wants to keep them busy so the other guys can keep fighting. That's to me, and I'm not an expert, but that seems like a pretty great plan to me. And it does work out well for them. Like I said, victory is only about 7 minutes away or so, maybe 8. So it goes pretty well. Now these things are a little bit more of a problem. They're a little bigger, a little badder, do a little more damage. So it's a little harder for Shadow to be on foot, kind of keeping these things on the move. You can see he's sort of trying to get involved in here and maybe distract these guys. But at the end of the day, a lot of the times the group does have to team up to kill the big bad boys that this dude pops out with. And as the boss progresses, I tend to see that there's more and more of them coming out. So it just, not... sometimes I watch these bosses and it looks easy. A lot of cases, and it's like if you watch me do a cave, it might look easy. A lot of that's practice and planning. It may not be that easy if you don't have a plan. Usually when I do my caves videos, the tutorial ones or walkthroughs, I've done them a couple times, and I also have a pretty serious plan going in. And we see here, it doesn't take much though. They wreck them pretty fast, but they do get on top of it. I would presume that you don't want to be inside that red section. They do a great job of avoiding being in there. I would assume there's some hints that kind of show them that that's about to come down in that area, so it's not too challenging for them. And it just kind of continues in this manner. Don't really notice any desperate times. Don't see anything that's really got me worried as I was watching this. I'm not noticing a lot of damage on the dinos. I mean, even when you take a look, there's not a lot of blood on the go there. Where are the cuts, right? So these megas are taking the heat pretty good. A lot of shotgun rounds being fired to keep those fireballs from hitting them. I presume they do a significant amount of damage. But he's up front here taking some hits for sure as he's being attacked both on the ground and by fireballs. But we notice that he's got his extra megalo on his back, and I think they're all running them in packs of 2s. And that guy holding up the rear there, who's on follow obviously, probably great to have as far as dealing with those little annoyances that come up on the ground. And I think that they all are in a pack of 2. I'm not 100% sure of that. Maybe Shadow's on a solo one that he abandons when he goes on foot as a distraction. Again, if they mention in the comments exactly what's done, and then also you watching it might get a better idea of how it's being done. I've never been accused of being the smartest person on the block. So, I'm just talking about the observations that I see going on. If you're really smart at the game or you've done this boss a lot of times, you might get a better perspective than I would. And we can see again, it seems like to me there's more and more of these riffraff coming up on the ground causing distractions. This dude doesn't seem to be doing much down there. and then he grows up a little bit bigger as he gets upset. There he starts finally chomping in, and that'll just require a little movement. Any dino on attack my target would have helped out there, but not even needed, as he pretty much killed him off in a couple bites. And we see, of course, and I believe those are endless, correct me if I'm wrong, that are all running around. Now they would normally probably cause a lot of problems if they weren't being led away. And we can see at the bottom of the screen just a second ago, Shadow on foot. You see he's trying to lure those guys away from the main attack party. And as mentioned, this will give more of an opportunity for those guys to keep the shotguns running on those bosses. And he's heading over there now, and he takes shots while he's doing it. You know, he's doing a bit of a, he's running two jobs for the price of one there. Now here he's only got a couple on him. I suppose no threat to lure them back towards the main party. And at this point, the boss is starting to take some open wounds there. We can see the damage. He's already down to about a quarter health. It won't be too much longer for him. He's going back into that water to reassess his life's priorities, starting to wonder where everything went wrong as he's sitting down there meditating and wondering to himself how he got himself in this position. This dude does a little bit of a push, but you can see he's not too bad to kill or just disappear anyways. He's off and out of the way. The boss is all amped up. He's not feeling too good right now. He's taking a lot of shots, and you know the boys are getting more aggressive. Tell they're taking more chances now, firing more shots, a little more bunched up together. Probably feeling pretty confident as they sit on their dinos and see on the right side that the damage gauge is probably very low, and yet the boss has taken a lot of damage. So if I was in this fight right now, I'd be feeling really optimistic about having a lot of success here. Some of these strategies are probably losing their importance at this point, and they're just trying to get as many rounds in as they can as they're in the home stretch. A few more shocks going down. I guess it seems to be more or less focused on the back end of the boss, so I'm presuming if you just stay in the front side, when you get a little hint that this guy's about to drop his tentacles and light the place up, you should be okay. Lingering around this blue marker seems to be working out great when those tentacles come down and electrify the floor. I want to call it that. And now at this point the boss is really starting to hurt, and he will do another dip, I think, before the end of it all, and head back into that water to try and recover, which doesn't really work out for him. We can see, once again, I think it's Shadow, who's just running around circles down there on foot, trying to keep those minions, so-called minions, out of the way. He's got a fireball up his ass, but that'll be easily dealt with a shotgun blast, just like we see right there. Continuing on now, they're really starting to put the ropes to this guy. There's not much left of the boss. He's bleeding all over. Doesn't look good for him. I mean, he's full of scars right now. There's not enough stitches in the world to patch that guy up. He's popped 100 leaks. It's not looking too good for him. And he's frustrated. I mean, I'm telling you, he was having a bad day before this happened. I think his pet got run over by something. He lost his dog, and it's just a bad day altogether, as he's going to probably lose this fight as well. And the shots just keep raining out. At this point, I think the boys are not worried about anything. I don't believe Shadow's even running around worried about much right now. They're all just hanging out, trying to unload as many shots as they can. See a couple large minions getting in the game here, trying to do what they can to save their buddy up top there, the Commander-in-Chief. It doesn't look like the Commander-in-Chief's going to be walking away from this one. Maybe if they have a stretcher big enough to fit him in an ambulance, I don't know. I don't think any kind of surgery is going to keep him alive, and I doubt there's any kind of blood donors on hand in Aberration to be able to get this guy and replace some of that blood he's lost. So it's just really not looking good for him as we come up to the last 2 minutes of the video here. Desperately trying to shock the floor, doing everything he can to just stave these guys off. They're not going to give up. And again, their confidence level is so high at this point. They're probably, some of them are on cell phone calls or watching movies in the background while they finish this up. I'd be making a sandwich with one hand right now and shooting with the other. That's how good things look. We don't see a lot of damage at all on the dinos, some minor wounds, but the megas are looking real good right now. That guy doesn't even have a scratch on him. We see the backup right there in the team aspect, where one guy's firing the shotgun, other guy jumped in to take care of that minion who was chomping at his legs. Looks like he took a hit right there. Dino definitely took a hit, but very little damage done. Nothing to be concerned about this late in the game as the fight continues. And right now that boss is bloody. Feels like a slight lull in the firing. I'm guessing that they're sort of reloading weapons, or maybe cleaning them out from having fired so many shots and getting clogged up with powder. Quite a few minions desperately coming in for the rescue job. Looks like Shadow's still on foot over there, and they decide at this point just to chomp them all up, even risking getting close to the water. And, you know, we can really start to see as they progress and as they get closer, they start taking a few more chances. And why not? I mean, we've got a boss that's almost dead here. Ascension's looking good. They can probably taste those 15 extra levels, and we can just see the tracer markers coming off the obscene amount of rounds of shotgun that go in there. And boom, he's dead, folks. The ascension begins. What a light show as they progress on. Pow, and this just looks great. I've always talked about this in every video, how much I really love the design of the boss arenas. Almost a hint of the lore of the game right here as we get a look at the planets. And this might have been a long time ago before the Ark's completely collapsed. We can see all kinds of different, not satellites, they almost look like mini bases floating around the planet, which itself would, I guess, be considered an Ark. And that about wraps it up. What a great fight. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to join our servers, you just click the info arrow down there and you'll see my Steam name. You can go ahead and add me. Thanks for coming out, guys. Take care of yourselves.